Section 6.7 is on nucleophiles and electrophiles. And this is just going to be a definition with some examples of both nucleophiles and electrophiles. A nucleophile, just from its name, nucleophile means nucleus lover. A nucleophile technically is the same thing as base. It's a compound that is seeking out a positive charge. They are compounds that have somewhere an electron-rich area and it's this electron-rich area that causes the compound to be attracted to a positively charged nucleus. Some examples of nucleophiles, most commonly found nucleophiles, would be double or triple bonds. They're very electron rich. Lone pairs. And partial negative charges, or true negative formal charges, full-on formal charges. Visual examples would be an alkene or an alkyne. Both of these being the areas of nucleophilicity. Oxygens are examples of nucleophiles with the lone pairs of electrons on them, but it could be halogens or nitrogens with a lone pair, anything with a lone pair. A polar bond, for example, here's a carbon-lithium bond. Due to the difference in electronegativity between carbon and lithium, carbon is actually partially negative in this particular bond. We usually don't see carbon bonding with things that are less electronegative than it is. So this is kind of a special example. Where we have a partial negative carbon atom, and that carbon atom is going to be a nucleophile. Or carbon atoms that have full-on negative charges. Let's see this particular carbon atom that has only 3 bonds and a lone pair, which would cause it to have a full negative formal charge. That's going to be a nucleophile as well. Because we haven't introduced this terminology yet, a molecule that has a carbon atom with 3 bonds and a lone pair and a full negative charge is called a carbanion. Electrophiles are essentially the opposite of nucleophiles. They are lovers of electrons. They would be the same thing as Lewis acid. They are compounds that are electron deficient. and the electron deficient area on the compound causes the whole entire compound to be attracted to a nucleophile. Examples of electrophiles, there aren't as many, are molecules that have a partial positive charge, maybe due to resonance or something like that, or a full-on positive charge, positive formal charge. Structural examples would be, again, a polar bond. This time, carbon bonding to something that is more electronegative, like a halogen. The difference in polarity between the carbon and bromine bond is going to cause the carbon atom to have a partial positive charge, and that's an electron deficient area because the electrons are being sucked into the bromine and away from the carbon, and therefore this part. So one example of an electrophile is a compound that has a polarized bond where the carbon atom is partially positive. Another example would be a molecule with a carbon atom that is just straight up electron deficient, like this carbon atom that has only 3 bonds, no lone pairs, and a true formal charge on the carbon atom. This particular type of compound is called a carbo cation. It's important that you're able to identify electrophiles and nucleophiles when you see them. So I do want you to practice this with Skill Builder 6.2 and problems 6.8 through 11 and 53. And your study questions for this section would be, what is the difference between a nucleophile and an electrophile? And also, what are examples of each?